What's going on, everybody? We are back with Download Q, big ol' episode 20, mini milestones. Back a week or so later, I was on vacation in Vegas, losing all my money, exploring the Fallout vaults in real life. But we're back. Kyle, how are you doing? It's been a while. Time to catch up. Yeah, it's weird. When I sent you the picture, I walked over. I was like, I was a distance away, but I was expecting bigger, and I don't know if that's just because I've been by U.S. Bank Stadium so much, like right beside it, walking next to it. It's like the sort of angle of viewing, I guess. But maybe WrestleMania. We will see. Live coverage from WrestleMania. we for special events, life-changing events. You can see the Rock main event one more time in person. Uh, it is, but it's gonna like have one in his mouth. Just rat. Can't stop, won't stop. But yeah, we got, as I said, been a week. Couple things to catch up on. Sadly, things have somehow still going downhill in the gaming industry. But we got a few rapid fire stories. I finally finished Fallout TV series, so we're gonna do a little spoiler talk on that. And I'm excited. We'll probably save the Xbox stuff for end. Couple rapid fire stories though, and we missed, which I'm gonna start with. I don't even know if you've seen this yet, Kyle. We have breaking news shortly before we went live, and we were talking from Sony Interactive Entertainment. You did see, okay? I was like, oh, this is perfect. Yeah, Sony directly have announced that with Jim Ryan being gone, and they have Todoroki as interim CEO, sort of, they have officially announced their two replacements for Jim Ryan with Herman Hulst, which is no surprise, and Hideki Nishino. Yeah, that's how you're sounding much better. Uh, A for effort. Yeah, with this though, as I said, they have two people replacing Jim Ryan, and they have seemingly split sort of the load ship in half. Holst specifically will be in charge of PlayStation's first party teams, plus covering development of PlayStation IP onto other mediums like TV and film. As we know, he was already the head of PlayStation Studios before, previously Guerrilla Games. Nishino will lead Platform Business Group, which will include console hardware, technology, accessories, PSN, and third-party relations covering major publishers and indie studios, which he was already previously Senior Vice President of Platform Experiences and has been with Sony since 2006, so been there a while. It would make sense if he did. Um, yeah, they were both with the promotion. Will still be directly reporting to Hiroki Totoki, who was interim in the time that Jim Ryan left, who has been Sony Interactive Entertainment chairman. So, yeah, a lot of shakeup. Obviously, this just happened. They just announced, so I'm sure people will be blowing this up into what it means for the future. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I guess I didn't even. Interesting's the word. Uh, yeah, I guess I didn't even think about that way. But yeah, it definitely, especially with how I don't know who's in charge of like the adaptations on Xbox's side of things because they haven't obviously haven't really like super dove into that yet besides Fallout. But yeah, it makes sense to like have that separated as well from like your console stuff that doesn't matter obviously, but still like part of your IP ecosystem. Oh, I forgot about Halo. Yeah, didn't they have I believe they had Kiki Wolfkill on for that, who was long time yeah, even before 3 for 3. You're getting the Minecraft movie. Jason Momoa and Jack Black. God. It's a lawless wasteland. Um Also today we got a little news on Assassin's Creed with what is Assassin's Creed Red, which was long rumored Japanese project, Japanese setting samurai, getting its official name with Assassin's Creed Shadows and an official reveal on the 15th on this Wednesday if you're listening live. So, Kyle, you're a big Assassin's Creed guy? I feel like I've asked you this before because it's such a major series. Oh, yeah, yeah. Surprise.
Just I don't that's not what I want. I want a smaller scale, more focused, 30 to 40 hours, cool. 60 hours, 100%ing it, awesome. That's great. We don't need 100+ hour Assassin's Creed games. We don't.
No, not at all. And that's honestly, I've been hit and miss on the series too. I did that way early after Assassin's Creed 2. And it's just from the scope even back then, like collectibles and me trying to be a completionist and do everything and wanting to do that completion. I had to dip out super early, and I've tried to return. I did Syndicate, I think was the London one. Um, but I got my 1X. I got Origins with it. Never touched it. When I got my Series X, I got Valhalla. Maybe did 5 hours with it. And again, yeah, just like you said, the bloat. There's a lot going on, and it feels like a part-time job at points. Just to even try and like get to the meat and bones of the game. But
which is unfortunate because like I really do love the aesthetic and the story of Valhalla, and then it just got too much, and then when I fell off, they auto loaded me into a mission where I was a god, and I was very confused. So it's just stuff like that. I was like, how is this an Assassin's Creed game? Whoa. Like what? So I hope ultimately this new game, Assassin's Creed Shadows, their new name for it, which is all right, whatever. It kind of not a surprising. It kind of makes sense when you're like an Assassin's Creed set in Japan, feudal Japan. We could have guessed Shadows, I hope this is though a refocusing of the series. I hope. It seems like Mirage was a little too much. It was a DLC that got upgraded to a full release, but it seems like Mirage was a little too much of the old school Assassin's Creed. Again, just not that's public perception, not playing it. So I hope instead of going too far that way or too far in the open world, we meet in the middle there and just get a little more focused Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan, which sounds awesome. And I hope they can convince me that it's a game I should play this fall. Because it did leak. It's November 15th it comes out.
Oh, did it? Okay, I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so a separate leak spotted by a fan revealed. I think it was on their YouTube page or something. Let me see. But yeah, someone was able to find that. Huh. Yeah, it was on a YouTube page in another country. Says November 15th, so which makes sense for a fall release of a big Assassin's Creed game. That's a good time for it.
Yeah, I'll be interested.
What do you feel about it? I mean, the trailer comes out later this week as we're recording. So, what are your feelings about it?
It's a thing I want to be excited for it. The setting is completely up my alley. Like I've always been a fan of ancient Japanese stuff. Like that's my niche. I hope that they've trimmed some of the extra stuff down. And there's a lot still up in the air with... I'm blanking on the name of it, but they're like platform they're releasing with it, I believe. Where they're going to have like all the future Assassin's Creed games like centered around one social hub type thing.
Yeah, and the Assassin's Creed Infinite, which...
Yeah.
Or something.
How
Infinity,
much that plays into it?
Yeah. When they announced that, I was super worried. But the fact that it's taken this long, I almost I feel a little better about it because hopefully that gives them more time to hopefully not put dumb and weird practices into it. And maybe they can give us a solid reason for why we need one central title that connects all of them. When you think about the ethos, though, and the world of Assassin's Creed, you enter the Animus, and you enter memories, and that like your memories from your bloodline, and later that is expanded into anyone can do it. And we have a company that sells games based on the memories, and we just edit them down, and this is all real. So it make sense to have a central hub where you are your own avatar, you make your own character, and you are working at Abstergo. And you walk around and I'm now playing that game. I'm now playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm doing, there's some cool things that can be done there that are almost like metagaming, but it fits in the world of Assassin's Creed. That sounds super difficult to do well, though. I don't have belief in Ubisoft's ability to pull something like that off. But I think there is reasons to have it center around one office space like it was in Black Flag. Instead of just playing a pirate game, though, you play any game in our Assassin's Creed catalog.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just more worried about the microtransactions aspect of it, because I just see it turning into a storefront essentially. Because already, even like when I occasionally jump back into Rainbow Six Siege, it's immediately like, check out these bundles, and oh, you've played this other Ubisoft game, be sure to download this or get this discount or this and that. I'm like, I just want to get on and do a round or two. Like, I don't want to be bombarded with like a QVC equivalent of video games.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Anything that Assassin's Creed Infinite is doing has to be, story-wise, has to be optional. You need to be able to just play the game you buy, and that's it, right? So is it just a launcher, you know? Is it just a game launcher? Like, all right, that's cool. Like I said, I think in the world there is reason to have something like that, and you can pull it off. We saw it in Black Flag. It was all centered around an office. Just, that's really cool. That's a next gen experience looking at the screen, at the stream. But we'll see if they pull that off. That seems pretty I expect it to just be a weird, a very lacking story surrounding Assassin's Creed Infinite, but it is essentially a game launcher.
Yeah, and who knows if by that point, if that's still a thing. Like, I feel like we've heard rumblings of like Infinite and stuff, of it still happening and still being worked on, but what it's evolving into, who knows? And I don't think we'll get anything more of that on Wednesday when this is revealed. I think that we're going to get a very short, cut and dry, like, cinematic trailer.
Yeah, that's what it says. It's just a tune in for a official cinematic world premiere trailer.
Okay.
So it's just something to probably build hype for Summer Game Fest premiere, or Ubisoft Forward, right? That's what they call it.
Ubisoft Forward, which is happening June 10th, day after Xbox's showcase that Monday. And yeah, I think Summer Game Fest announced today their showcase is that Friday.
The 7th.
So yeah.
Yeah, Summer Game Fest, Friday.
Did I immediately put my requests in today for all three of these? Yes, sir.
Is someone going to be there at least all of IGN Live if I want to be? Yes.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that later because I have questions. I am intrigued by your journeys.
We'll talk.
Also, I want to touch on faster since we highlighted it a few episodes ago. We got our Video Game Hall of Fame inductees. And boy, were we a little bit off from our guesses.
That makes sense.
So yeah, they did five titles this year.
Oh, okay.
First one that got inducted was Asteroids, which I pretty much on the ball. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Asteroids is OG.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Myst made the cut.
Okay.
Good first-person puzzle game.
Never played it, but it makes sense. You heard about it. I know it's a puzzle game, so.
Ultima made it, which I believe was one of my throw-ins, just for like the MMO aspect and how long that's had a lineage and what it's done. SimCity made the list, which I guess like simulation games, people got like cult followings for those.
Yeah, I mean simulation games are good when they're good though. You know, and SimCity, yeah. I don't know much about it, but it makes sense. Like, you know, it's one of those games like I know about it, right? Yeah, it has multiple sequels, it has multiple games inspired by it.
Yeah, you know the impact of it. And the last one, the fifth one, Resident Evil made it. Which,
I mean, it makes, I guess, yeah, I mean, cultural phenomenon. It is. It has multiple movies.
Yeah,
multiple games.
That's what I brought up too then.
Yeah, we talked about it, so I'm not upset by any of these. No. Well, why would I be?
Yeah, it's not something to be upset about. I'm surprised. I really thought Guitar Hero would have made it. Just for...
Yeah. I mean, is this like a one and done, you can't be nominated again? Or... Because I feel like just the plastic instruments alone, like, that is a era.
Yeah, that I don't know. I guess if there's been multiple nominees to make it year after year. But
yeah, that's cool. Good thing to highlight.
Good little funsies. Moving along, our next thing I wanted to bring up, which I'm probably more excited for than you are. Do I have anything for this? No, I do not.
I'm not sure what it is.
Square Enix today announced that they're going with the more multi-party approach from now on.
How dare you say you would be more excited? This is great news.
It's great for the game standpoint. I feel like the JRPGs and stuff are more.
If Final Fantasy was on Xbox forever ago and never had weird, sometimes some games are and sometimes aren't, maybe I would have played them. So who knows? No, but I loved. I'm all on board of Square Enix going multi-platform.
Yeah, which makes they're a third party. It makes sense. This comes though from IGN in response to tumbling profits. Square Enix announced what it is calling Square Enix Reboots and Awakens, which sounds like a terrible B movie that was made in some kid's basement. Which is a 3-year plan for rebooting for long-term growth. It involves a rethink across all parts of the business, but the highlight is a shift to a multi-platform strategy, with them explicitly stating they will be aggressively pursuing a multi-platform strategy that includes Nintendo platforms, not Nintendo Switch because we know what's coming, PlayStation, Xbox, and PCs. So yeah, I was super hyped for this, based purely off of, I tweeted about it too, next generation, I'm probably going to be a one-console household again. So I'm going to have to make the decision. And when that decision comes to what console Kingdom Hearts 4 is eventually going to release on, I would have been torn.
It's all of them now.
Wow, it's all of them. No worries.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. You can't tell me that Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth and Final Fantasy 16 would not have sold more if it also came to Xbox consoles day and date. Like, you can't tell me that. I bought Final Fantasy 16 on my PlayStation 5. It was one of the many reasons of buying a PlayStation 5, so I get it, but I still don't love the fact that, I'm not still on board with having, especially third-party games be multi-platform. Just, we know that, especially, it was just buying it so it's not on another platform. It's just not a good business model. I like, put it everywhere. So I like this. I'm interested to see how fast this goes, and how fast prior games go to other platforms. Like, how soon will Final Fantasy 16 jump to Xbox? How soon will Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth? How long were those contracts with Sony? How long do they have to do? Are they forever locked to PlayStation? So I think those are the things that are interesting. This makes sense to make the switch, but how soon are we going to see the prior titles come to other platforms? We know Final Fantasy 16 is coming to PC, but
yeah, and it's more.
Let's see it.
Because that's something with those contracts they have with Sony beforehand. You would imagine that's not something they're just gonna up and pull out all of a sudden. Like, they're probably gonna let those run out, whatever they were.
Oh yeah, there would have to be a buyout or something.
Yeah.
There'd be some clause they'd have to write that I doubt they would put in there. So yeah, they have to let it ride, but how soon? How long did they? Is it like 2-3 years of exclusivity? Is it? Did Sony buy platform exclusivity forever outside of PC? I doubt that.
I'll be wait and see. This the numbers they posted with this though are large, but at the same time feels kind of small in the grand scheme of things to me, I guess, just because we've been dealing with billions and shit with Xbox for the past however many years.
It's all way too much money.
Yeah, but they where was I at here? Square Enix saw a significant operating loss of 8.1 billion yen, which is about $51.9 million.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Makes sense now. You need to make more money, let more people buy it. Also, this is the bigger thing going on in games industry where big games are getting way too expensive, and we need to reprioritize what we're spending on development and why I don't think we need super realistic graphics if it's
please
gonna
don't.
lead to layoffs down the road, and you know, good games not meeting the mark because it costs so much to make. Like, if your game gets over a certain cost limit, at some point you're just making it harder for you to achieve that barrier. And in an era where everyone is seemingly playing games that are for live service games, and yearly titles or games that they have played for 6+ years, like, it just seems silly to limit where your game is going to go. I think this is the final. This was the last little breath of a dying era of buying platform exclusivity.
Well, and it very much goes with what we've been saying the past few months with Xbox going third party partially for now, and how I've been saying it's only a matter of time till PlayStation does, Like,
yeah, and they already are.
Yeah, they're more and more going to PC in just a short amount of time since we did those episodes back then.
Mm-hmm.
Ragnarok is the most recent to be rumored to be coming. And if you're Square Enix, who isn't in the console side of things, like, they're just making software, if they can't keep up just doing that one side of things, again, it's only a matter of time before Sony's like, shit, where can we start making some more dollars from? And it's on Xbox. Is it on Nintendo?
Yeah.
Maybe. That's questionable because Nintendo's doing Nintendo
but
things.
It is. But it's also on Nintendo. If Nintendo allows it and wants it to be and has a platform that can support it, it is.
That's
right?
what
It is valuable.
It supports it.
That's kind of the thing, right? And it just like on PC, just like, hey, if you let me be able to stream games to my phone is now is a valuable place for your game to be. So I think it's just different. It's get your stuff everywhere. And what matters is the fact that when I play, Starfield on my PC, my save is automatically going to load up when I go to my Xbox. I might have to, force it every now and then, oh well. But for the most part, it just automatically updates the save and I'm ready to go. And then I can play it on cloud. Like, and, PlayStation isn't far from that. Their saves are pretty decent, but I'm not jumping between multiple things. But I just think that accessibility to access the content is better. So that definitely trickles down to being platform specific on your content and games. Don't do that.
Yeah, I'd make a hard bet right now with the way things are going and how fast things are changing. I would easily, by the end of 2025, we're going to have at least 2 Sony properties on an Xbox. Not saying they're going to be big stuff, not God of War or anything, but like...
Well, no, Helldivers is definitely one 100%. That should be there.
I could see next Astrobot if that happens. I could even see something like Ratchet and Clank making the jump. As wild as that is, being like a long-standing PlayStation franchise.
Ratchet and Clank makes a ton of sense. Spider-Man, if Blade is also multi-platform, makes a ton of sense to jump back over. Like, once you open it a little bit, there's no reason to hold back everything outside of a technical standpoint. But then, I mean, hey, PlayStation, Xbox, what the fuck? Make a Sunset Overdrive 2. God damn, that'd be amazing. Like, Xbox has the IP, Sony has the team. That's like, oh my god. I mean, that's wild to even think about, and that's probably would never happen. But once you start breaking down the walls, like, who cares? Like,
that's gonna be the piece to get them to come together.
Is Sunset Overdrive. That game, I'm so bummed that game freaking Sony bought Insomniac. That's like the only time a thing has bought a thing and I've been sad about it. Is because I was like, we're not getting a Sunset Overdrive 2.
Yeah.
I love Sunset Overdrive. It was so good. It was original IP. It was such a strong IP. It was fun. The movement, the traversal. It definitely, you see how they eventually got the Spider-Man.
Oh, 100%.
And then Spider-Man 2, like, but just to it's a bummer. But yeah, I hope that is how we see peace down the road, is a Sunset Overdrive 2. Published, created, and developed buy PlayStation and Xbox.
Next year, Xbox is going to be like, hey, here's our game showcase, June whatever, followed by Secret Redacted, like they did this year. And that Secret Redacted is just going to be PlayStation logo, and they're like, oh my god!
Man, what a way to troll people.
That would be fantastic.
Just like this one would be funny if it was just like Flight Simulator Direct. And everyone's like, what?
Actually, give me Call of Duty.
You could fly all the Call of Duty helicopters in Flight Simulator. Oh shit, that's cool. You could just be the pilot on these missions. That's a little weird. All right, we're getting off track. I am.
With that, I believe short little news stories. As we said, or I said at the beginning of this, last week I was exploring Vegas. Could say I was exploring New Vegas, which we may be seeing a lot more of in Fallout Season 2.
Oh yeah, spoilers.
Spoilers. We're going all in. 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, Kyle. I finished Fallout series. I sat down, did the last 2 episodes. I tried watching one on the plane like we talked about, did not work. Watched the last 2 episodes, finished it, and I think, recency bias aside, I enjoyed it more than Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
Up until the last episode. And the last episode did just enough to make me be like, eh. But still, I think I almost would say I enjoyed it more than Last of Us overall.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the difference there is I agree, and I think it's because it's they're just retelling the story for Last of Us and expanding upon it, where this is just more Fallout, right? So it's just all new, but it's set in something so familiar. So I just think that definitely helps it. There's no like they did that different, or there's like no, that's just honestly everything they're doing is Fallout. You know, that's so yeah. What was about the last episode? What about it exactly?
Oh my god, what's it? Hold on. I am terrible with names. It's my buddy Maximus, that I had an issue with from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And the ever-loving, it never fails, being forced into, like, a romantic partnership because you have to. And I'm just like, eh.
Are you talking about the romance between
him and
Maximus and Lucy?
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, I felt like
forced.
that was... Well, see, I felt like that was her... Like, in the vault, her one purpose is to and they talk about this in one of the earlier episodes. It's is to get married and repopulate and recreate civilization and save the earth or something. And then she comes out of the vault and she asks later, Maximus, just straight up like, "You want to have sex?" Like I think there's a huge, that one was a little odd line. That one was odd, but I think it still serves the purpose of like her being very naive about the world and also having a skewed perspective of like, this kind of is our purpose, is to just repopulate. So yeah, why not have sex, right?
Yeah.
Weird, but she also talked about that's what they would do down there. They did cousin stuff, right? Like in the first episode, mentioning stuff. So I was like, that's kind of what the vault was. Like they were told this is their purpose. So she comes out and that's kind of what she's looking for. While on the flip side, Maximus doesn't even understand what that thing is, which was another weird line referring it to a pimple, which I thought was creative. And he's like, you don't touch it because you'll make it turn into a pimple and explode. Like, don't touch your wiener. Like, it's funny. It's creative.
It's like you're talking to like a preschooler. Like, no.
He was just like, oh, that's interesting. But that kind of is the flip side of her there, where he doesn't even get it in any way, right? Like, that's just not the world he's in. So
yeah, I do very much.
I didn't really see the forced romance there at all. I
guess forced is the wrong word. It's the more of like, it has to be there sort of thing.
Yeah, but see, I get that. Yeah, but I think that's just like every story has that, like, well, like, right, and doesn't need it. But I think the way they're doing it is like she convinced him, like, hey, this life in the vault with me could be really cool. And then she learns, no, never mind, everything's bad. But he's still chasing that life, because once they go to Vault 4, it's all fucked up, and she goes through all that shit, and he is just in the robe, kind of chilling. the whole time, and
Eating
he's
his
happy.
popcorn, living life.
Right, so like she has a totally different view than he does, and they really set them on separate paths, I thought, throughout the whole by the end of the season. Because again, I felt the same way. They came together and I was like, oh, but they're doing it differently. Don't let them but then they split apart. While they're still chasing similar goals, they're not actually though going the same path. Like, she's trying to say, like, they're trying to get back together, but I just think they have very different goals, and they're not actually going to be romantically involved at all. In fact, I think they're going to be on opposite sides of something.
I could see him being opposite sides, but him eventually transitioning over, just because how like weird he was at the end when they were all standing together and they were trying to celebrate him. And he was like, "No, please don't. Like, I don't want to be in this position," type thing. I feel like his inner self is still going to win over on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that would be fun to explore that Brotherhood of Steel stuff, because he kind of like, is he in charge of it? Is he just like, what is it?
Yeah, I do like how you said that they're going on their separate paths, because that's very how like the games go essentially. Like everyone just goes off and does their own thing, but eventually all comes at the end, you know. And with a bunch of the episodes in this, it felt like that they're portraying that through the show, with like, hey, here's your main mission, but we're gonna send you on a bunch of wild side quests essentially, and like all these little side things that you didn't really need to be in or end up in, but you're still gonna do it because it helps out in the end. Like with like Vault 4 is the one they end up in, right? With the weird testing going on.
Yes.
Really like those episodes just because it was that. Oh, she came from her vault. You get the feeling it's kind of weird and like things aren't right, obviously. But Vault 4, on the other hand, was very much like Stark, like, hey, we're doing fucked up stuff here. Like, this isn't what it seems. Your life is not as great as it was. Like, it showed the more harsher contrast of what the vaults were designed for. So I really like that. The weird testing going on. One-eyed overseer buddy was kind of weird. CGI threw me off.
Yeah, I didn't just look at the eye too much because it was a little odd, but I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, overall.
Overall, I thought this was. I mean, if I would give it a 10 out of 10, I think you have a show based off of a game property that's loved. I think what else could you ask for except for more, right? And we're getting season 2, so I'm excited to see where they take it.
Oh, you know where they're taking
like
it.
that we're going. Well, yeah, but where else, right? Like, I love the New Vegas stuff. Like, where we see the end shot of him going to New Vegas. I like
Mr. House.
Yeah, see, I like who's paired off together. I really like Lucy with the ghoul. I think they're very similar, but at different stages of that, right? And I think that's really cool. I'm excited to see that. I want to know what impact this will have on the games. I am convinced we are hearing news about Fallout in June.
What?
And I think because they knew, it's not like the show like they were working on the show for like 6 months and it came out and it was a surprise. They've been working on this for a long time. They knew what they've had. When that interview that Todd Howard did with Greg Miller about it, he says like, no, we kind of knew what we had. He alludes to that multiple times or says it straight up. I don't want to misquote. So, and when you think about production, this has been in the works for a while. You might have something small almost ready to go. And you miss the release of the game, but you're ready to go by summer, or the release of the show. I don't know how big or small it's going to be, or maybe it's just an announcement of something. Like, we are making more Fallout, just like they announced we are doing Elder Scrolls 6. But I don't know.
So I'll agree with you.
Imagine if another studio has been working on another Fallout.
I'll agree with you based purely off the assumption that the leaks we got earlier in the year haven't radically changed.
Oh, what did the leaks say about that? I don't recall.
In the leaks, I want to say it was either 2024 or 2025 then. Or no, it was 2023 or 2024, but then when those were written up, so like before COVID shut down, like what their initial plans were, they had working on a Fallout 3 and an Oblivion remaster
Oh yeah,
slash
yeah. I just
remake.
pulled that up.
So
I
yeah,
100%
if
expect.
that's still
Yeah,
in the works, I could see that. But like next actual game, boy, you'd be crazy.
that's what I say. I don't know. I don't think it would be a Fallout 5 unless someone else has been working on it, and that would be crazy. Um, but when you think back to how they announced Fallout 4, I don't
Perfect
remember any
thing.
leaks. I wasn't that into gaming at that point to be aware of any leaks that happened during that time. But for me, it was announced at E3 and released that fall, and that was amazing. I loved it. That's what, like, really, I think I would point to that moment as me getting really into games media and following IGN and listening to podcasts more. Not because of Fallout, but just, I don't know, it was that E3 that did it for me. And I've poured hours and hours into Fallout 4. But that was a release cycle they've done before for Fallout. What if Todd is ready to release a Fallout
God,
5 set in Los Angeles? Ready to go.
I don't like it, but I'm sitting over here like smiling ear to ear. My heart's racing. I'm like, oh yeah, please.
I mean, it sounds great, right?
Our showcase predictions are gonna be wild when we get to that.
Yeah, there's definitely, we're going to have to set some rules and boundaries, and like, because there's definitely like realistic, could be, and then there's like the batshit, like, what if, that stuff like that, like Todd coming out and showing Fallout 5 set in Los Angeles right after the show.
He's like, hey, here's your
And season,
Starfield DLC.
and guess what? Yeah,
Plus one more thing.
yeah. I mean, it's all about Starfield, Shattered Space, being realistic about that. Like, I think it's the Fallout 3 remaster for sure. Maybe a hint at making Fallout 5. If you already know your location, maybe you, just because of the show being so hot, you want to keep that going, so you announce. I think it's justified to announce a Fallout at this point. We all know it's coming.
Do the slow
So if
like
you
pan out they've done of the cityscape from a TV thing, yeah.
Exactly. The location would be really interesting. I don't think they would touch Los Angeles realistically. I think they leave that alone for Jonathan Nolan to play with his show.
But yeah, especially because there was that thing Todd said where he's like, he like either word by word or like over baseline, like, hey, don't do this and this, don't talk about stuff like this because we're using it for Fallout 5 type thing. So
Yeah.
I would assume the setting would be included in that, which is why they went with what they did. But
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Yeah, and letting them explore kind of the West Coast.
Back to the show.
Again,
oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
go for it.
Oh,
No, please go
look
to
at
the
us
show.
being nice. Our buddy Moldover. I got questions.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you have answers, because I don't know if I missed a part of something or if it's like meant to be talked about. How is she still alive? 200 years
Yeah, they
later.
definitely. They just left that. They let it go. I guess maybe did she have her name actually in the thing, in that vault?
Oh, like was a
Because
secret
so in the
employee?
vault, so in Vault 31, the vault that Norm goes to, he has the list of all the people, and it shows like who have been released, and you see Lucy's dad, you see the she doesn't become the overseer. No, she does become the overseer.
Betty.
I forget who. Betty. Yeah.
Betty.
Betty's name is on there, so I wonder if Moldaver's name was on there, but we just missed it. But otherwise, I mean, she was, when we get the flashbacks, she's against Vault Tech, so why would she be a part of it? Why would she get a seat in there? Unless, again, hey, maybe it's all on purpose. Like, we're trying to get people riled up, so I don't know, politics.
Yeah.
They literally wanted to drop the nukes, so I wouldn't put it past them. But yeah, I think, or, she couldn't be a synth, I don't think that, so.
See, I don't
Unless...
think she was a synth, but I could fully see her being behind them. Because I believe she is confirmed for season 2 in some capacity.
It would make sense. Like, I don't think she died on screen.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, she could be like the
I
actual.
don't remember.
No, because the 200 years thing. I was very confused. I didn't know if it was like something I missed, or they just glossed over, like led up to imagination.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at. Like, what did I miss too?
Same thing with Norm, as you said, went to Vault 31, had all of the Vault Tech employees in there and like their cryo chambers, whatever, and he just kind of wanders off. Which at first I was like, okay, so is he going to be like the main guy for season 2, like X amount of years down the line? But then it was like, hey, we're going to New Vegas and everyone's very much alive, still kicking, so it's going to be like an immediate thing, I would imagine. It's like, what's Buddy Norm doing?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, Lucy is going to go back to 31. At some point, or, whatever the vault had, all 33. And she's going to find out Norm's not there, and that at some point, going to get there. Yeah, is this a long-term play where we're not going to see Norm for a while?
Norm comes back in season 4.
Like, that'd be pretty crazy. I wouldn't expect that. But damn, what a way to make like Norm a man at a time all of a sudden, a little bit. Maybe we play Norm. No, that doesn't make sense because you have to create your own character.
You still play Norm, but little brain robot Buddy did a bunch of experiments on him when he was sleeping, and that's why you can create your character with him.
There it is.
We'll fit the pieces together.
Yeah, with Norm, I expect like Lucy finds out at the end of season 2, and that's like part of it. But I'd imagine he is in cryo, or he lets all of those people in there out. And I think they could get the computer robot head, the brain robot, to open the door. So we'll see. I'm excited, right? It's fun that there's a show based off of Fallout. That is Fallout. That is like leaves us like wanting more, and like there's so many ways it can go.
Yeah, and the way it did it's cliffhangers. Like it wasn't as like cut and dry of like, oh, so we're waiting for sure to see what like comes of X thing. It's like, hey, we're leaving you with this that could turn into a bunch of different pieces. Leave it up in the air, so it's not like directly know what you're coming into with season 2.
Yeah. Oh, you knew they were gonna. You could tell they were gonna get a season 2 because they left so much unanswered and all set up, a ton of setup for stuff.
Yeah, it's good. I was very pleasantly surprised. One day, I will make my way back and finish that last episode of Halo.
Oh, you definitely should. The last one has some of the best moments.
Does it?
Yeah, it's like cool fight scenes at least.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll try. It's come and gone. I've given it my time. I've had enough.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Much like
That's the thing too, is like Fallout did so much for the property and boosting game numbers and across all their properties. It's not just their most recent release, Fallout 76. It's Fallout 4. It's Fallout 3. It's the old games are getting numbers too. It's across the board. It just lifted up the franchise, the IP, and it's just, what the fuck is Halo?
What the fuck is Halo is right.
Okay, I went to the show. I do not see Moldaver's name on the reactivated list in the cryo chamber that Norm is in.
You're doing that fast.
I mean, it's not that hard. I was just watching Fallout real quick. I knew it was in. I knew where it's at.
Live reporting.
I got you. Blame my internet and Amazon adding ads to their Prime. Fuck Amazon.
If that's the first thing that made you say fuck Amazon, you're doing not too bad.
No, I worked for them. Fuck them.
Oh, yeah, kill the machine.
Actually, no, I had a really cool job. I would do my job again. But not the hours. Fuck that. All right.
You aren't the only one who's saying fuck X Corporation, as the online Twitterverse has been up in arms again this week towards our dear friends at Xbox after they announced more studio closures, all 4 of which on the Bethesda side of things. This was on May 7th last week. They would be closing Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, Mighty Doom developer, which I've never touched / forgot was a thing, Alpha Dog Studios.
Game sucked.
Did it? Well, there you go.
It was just really, it was a microtransaction dump. Like any game that makes you like when you log in say, hey, buy this for X amount, buy this for X amount. I'm like, no. And then it just the way they monetized it was never going to work. So this is what happened. It made me not want to play the game.
Well,
Also, it
shit.
just wasn't aesthetically nice, in my opinion.
Well, maybe you deserved it, Alpha Dog.
No, well, no one deserves to be laid off with no warning.
Heard it here from Kyle first. And the last one being Roundhouse Games, all being shut down. Wild. Absolutely wild. The morning I woke up and read this, not a fit of rage, but my pessimistic attitude just immediately shit the bed. And I was one of the doom scrollers, sadly. Not all. I believe Tango's completely done. Arcane Austin, I believe, is being rolled into Bethesda Game Studios proper, and specifically like on Elder Scrolls stuff, whether it be Elder Scrolls 6 or Elder Scrolls Online.
Well, here later I'll read it just to get clarity.
Okay. Yeah.
So Matt Booty, the game studio head of Xbox Game Studio head Matt Booty, said that some of Arcane Austin's developers will be moved to other Bethesda studios, while the entire team at Roundhouse will become part of ZeniMax Online Studios to work on the Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Roundhouse Studios, they were working on some mobile game, I think, in one report I looked at, one article. So that's, they're not closed. They're all absorbed into a whole thing. So they closed the studio, but one whole team isn't fired, which is a benefit, I guess.
In the grand scheme of things, yeah.
Honestly, the Scrolls Online seems to be doing well for them, and hey, why not invest? That's not the worst sign there. What is your overall take so far, side of all this?
Like I said, at first I was one of those people on Twitter, sadly, just because I'm so sick of seeing shit like this year, especially, and it is never ending. Especially after we already went through Microsoft with the 1900 earlier this year, laid off, and just closing more studios cut and dry without like any sort of warning. And a lot of it goes back after thinking about it, and something we've talked about with Xbox specifically this entire year has been messaging of just everything with how they run their business, games, studios. The messaging is always just a mess. And the one everyone goes to and that I go to has been Tango being closed after doing far and away one of the best games Xbox has ever done in the past decade, and being talked about as being a success and being a next level bar that they want their teams to like hit for those smaller studios by upper heads at Xbox. And then a year later, peace, sorry, don't need you. And the ever-ending thing of Xbox talking about how they have to establish a foothold in Japan. Hey, you got a Japan studio finally, it's Tango, and we don't need you. It's just, from a business point, yeah, sure, you need to cut costs, you need to make up some of that $70 billion you spent on Activision and whatever, but it just leaves a bunch of what-ifs on what the future holds. And like a bunch of other people, I'm now like, Hellblade's out next week. If I was at Ninja Theory right now, I'd be like filling out job applications. Because with how critical of a success Hellblade 1 was, and how I'm sure 2 will be a perfect 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 game, if it's not reaching whatever arbitrary either sales numbers or Game Pass subs or playtime by the user base that they're looking at, what is to say that Ninja Theory succeeded? Like, in that they deserve to stick around for another thing, and they're just gone next year. and stuff like Double Fine with what they're doing, I would be freaking out because they specifically, I talked about it with you when we first started doing all this. Their like Psychodyssey documentary they did about Psychonauts 2 and how they wanted to stay and do their own thing, and we're gonna do these game jams internally and get these smaller ideas and turn those into the games we work on because it's what the team actually wants.
Have you seen that clip going around on X from that documentary?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's man, that is a unfortunate like
And
when you rip that out of context. Oh, that is damning. Like, but of course, it's all within context, and it's more complicated than just that. But that clip is
not
like
even that far off though, because
what I mean by that is that to me, my perspective is Matt Booty goes in and says stuff that he has always said, and then doesn't know, he isn't aware that that's the culture of the studio. Is that his fault? Sure, you should know who you're gonna work with, fine, but only to a fault, right?
Yeah.
So like, to me, that's what I mean by that. It's just like, oh, that like doesn't change the fact that like that is conflicting attitudes or not attitudes, conflicting philosophies. But that's more of what I meant by like, get pulled out of context and just like that, man. Yeah, it really seems like Matt Booty's like, no, don't, you guys can. They're like, we've always done this. Like, well, it's like, to me, I'm like, oh man, that just, you're not aware of a lot of what this company does, because he seems surprised by it in that clip. Like, oh yeah, type of language and body language.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, those like Double Fine specifically, they did Psychonauts 2. It was great, but like, if I listed off 4 of their other most recent games, like, it's probably stuff you've never heard of, and that's not something that now is going to sell numbers. But when they were initially acquired, everyone looked at it as being kind of like a Game Pass filler. Like, yeah, do the smaller passion things and stuff you guys like are super into, and it would be great for Game Pass. It's like the smaller stuff, But now that's up in the air, and I'm just like, damn. Across the board, just damn. I'm lost. I am kerfuffled.
Yeah. When this news broke, it's like, god damn it, we're gonna have another shitstorm of a week. And instead of talking about Hellblade, which is unfortunate, and at the end of the day, like, first off, like, for me, like, it just sucks that, again, more people are laid off without warning, their jobs, their health insurance up in the air, when Microsoft also reports a $3 trillion valuation. It just doesn't make sense. Right. So that's kind of my take, is just, corporations and executives need to make it make sense, because it's not making sense right now when execs are making record profits, yet they're continuing laying off people. If you can't take care of who you're employing, who make the thing that you're selling, I don't like, what's the point of a business? Like, what the fuck are we all working towards if ultimately that's what happens? So that sucks. It's interesting with the specifics from the business side now, right? Microsoft is shutting down 4 Bethesda studios. It's all Bethesda stuff. Yep. And when you look at the studios, it's stuff that, to me, publicly, in my perception, has been kind of performing not great outside of Hi-Fi Rush. But there's stuff with Hi-Fi Rush that I think is really interesting. But like Mighty Doom, a mobile game developer, like, or the Alpha Dog Studios, like that, like, to me, I played that game. It wasn't a good game, right? Not, again, it wasn't. It was a bad angle. Like, it just wasn't, in my opinion, the right way of make a mobile Doom game. I think the art style was fine, but outside of that, whatever. But with like Arcane, I mean, Redfall was unfortunately what it was, and that clearly is what is going to kill that, not kill, but like what closed that studio, because they are prioritizing Blade, which cost them a ton of money probably for the IP, and is going to cost them more money as they invest everything they can into it to make it great. So yeah, I mean, when the whole industry is going through layoffs, and unfortunately you see the business start to make sense when you're looking through it in that lens. Outside of with Hi-Fi Rush, though, what I find interesting with Tango Gameworks and Hi-Fi Rush is, like, Hi-Fi Rush was made at the same time as Ghostwire Tokyo. They were developed simultaneously, but it was started just by 2 people.
Yep.
They they like made it internally, they pitched it, and then it slowly garnered more and more support. And then at the end of the day, it outshines the game that was being made and focused on by your whole studio. Right? I just think, to me, also, who owns the IP there? I would imagine Tango, but was it is it this guy made, like, when there's a really fascinating Xbox Wire post that they posted earlier or last year in October, and it talks about, and they talked to these developers, and he came up with it himself. They just had this idea of a game, an action game based on where everything is to a beat, and it blossomed into what Hi-Fi Rush was. But they worked on it, just these two guys, for 2 years until they started asking for more help.
So
So what I'm saying is, like, I get we're saying Hi-Fi Rush is like, I guess what I'm saying is Hi-Fi Rush is the thing that, why are you closing GameWorks? But you had a small team kind of outshine your big focus. Is that proof in a cynical way of a studio, like good studio? I don't like saying, like, that's a very cynical take, but again, I think in the business meeting, it does get very cynical.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it's something they looked at too, of like time and money investment in both projects and like what came out of both. To answer your question, I would assume that IP just went to Bethesda proper, like they just kept it, like whether it was from that 1 or 2 person team. Because going back to Double Fine with their game jams and the documentary and stuff, that was brought up, and Moody was like, well, if you guys are doing that, like, everyone who creates these projects for the game jams, it would have to be, not specific wording, obviously, I've been years since I watched it, but he specifically said, like, it would have to be signed off on or whatever to Xbox and Microsoft own that property, just in case, if it did become something more in the future. So even just those internal development projects that aren't going to be games, still were going to have to be signed off at Double Fine at least, so I would assume it's still under Xbox, but
yeah, that would make sense. It's under Bethesda still, so doesn't mean we can't get another Hi-Fi Rush 2, right? Like, I've heard that be said a lot of people say this means we're not getting Hi-Fi Rush 2. I'm like, I don't think it actually does, because this game wasn't developed with a full team behind it. It was a small scale. I think you could do it again.
yeah, it's just more constant just roller coaster of emotions being a gaming fan, let alone an Xbox fan this year. And that's, I've said before, I've been like, hard to be excited about things now, just because you don't know like what's next. But God, more than ever, I'm just like, why is this happening? And it's been
I mean, it's just what, like, it's across the industry. Like, these one, unfortunately, like, suck, and I could see the reasoning why Suits would take these specific ones down. Take them down. That sounds really more negative. Why these ones would be first to be suggested and gone through with. There's reasons there, unfortunately, but again, it does point to, like, where are they going overall with Xbox, and I think that's where this conversation should go, because, like, I think public perception, and I think that ekes down to not knowing any developers, but it sounds like it also is developers feeling this way, is like not trusting Xbox, not feeling safe under Xbox, not knowing if your game is going to be good. Does that actually mean you're going to stay? But I mean, do we think we're done with this layoffs? Do we think studio closures are done unless it's post game coming out and it being an absolute bomb of a game?
At Xbox specifically, or
yeah, let's keep it Xbox specific. Like Xbox, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard. Like Activision Blizzard had their layoffs earlier in the big Microsoft 1,900 people. Bethesda just had some. Do we see more? Do you think?
I would almost guarantee, sadly. That's like what I said at the beginning, where I'm like, it came up on Twitter where people like worried about Ninja Theory and worried about Double Fine and worried about even Obsidian at this point, like at
Yeah, but I
first you're
would
like,
say
that's kind
like
of crazy to think about. But then you look at things, you're like, well, what if like
here's
there's nothing we can go off of yet of like from a fan perspective of okay, this did X, Y, and Z, you're good. We don't have to worry about you. But now it's like, well, shit.
I do think the like worrying about other studios, I don't really see the similarities with most of them, uh, given what they are. Ninja Theory was a um, indie developer for they weren't when they made Hellblade, and then Xbox bought them, and now they're fully doing that. So Xbox wanted Hellblade 2. They've been funding Hellblade 2 for a while, right? I think this is more telling than that. When they bought Bethesda, they got Ghostwire Tokyo being developed for PlayStation. They got Deathloop being developed for PlayStation. And then they decided what to do with that after. So the only good thing coming out of the studios for Microsoft Gaming, because I think that's actually what we're talking about now. I think that's the difference for Microsoft Gaming is that, yeah, you had these games, they weren't even for us. So we let you work out those contracts. Were these always going to be closed down? Were these always going to be part of the sizing down in scope? Or is this part, oh, it's probably also part of the economic stuff going on, but when you think about the games that these studios were working on, they were they were not PlayStation games, or they were only PlayStation games. These are just, you don't buy Bethesda for Tango and Arcane. I think those are huge pluses.
The little extra cherry on top. Yes. I've been more fascinated with the amount of like not insider, but like industry backlash from it more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like usually everyone's always like, yeah, help hire these people, like do this and this, but like did you see Dinga, the co-creative director at Arcane, Leon, his tweets about it? Like he was,
and again, he's talking to executives, to upper management, to right, like big corporation getting in the way of creative. And like that's the downside of when you buy Bethesda, $1 billion, whatever they bought them for. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head. 70 billion, right?
all the billions, was that? Yeah.
And then Activision Blizzard for what that was. Like this is the downside, and you have to. I mean, unfortunately for Phil, Sarah, Matt Booty, and the whole team, they just have to deal with it. You know, they have to deal with the trade-off here. In a year or two, hopefully, this isn't dominating everything, and we are on the backside of this, and the positive end, the trade-off, the gain, right? We get the good games. We're getting Call of Duty. You know, it's like we got to get there, but this is just unfortunately the trade-off. Do we? I don't even know where to go from here now.
Before we move on, one last thing. I do want to say quick. If you like, you mentioned Matt, Phil, and Sarah. Like, I'm firmly on the side of that. This doesn't even involve them at this point. Like, this feels a lot more like Microsoft proper stepping their fingers in after the acquisition, wanting to make their money back. So if you're one of the people like sending hate and fucking just the most obscene shit online over this, like, you're a piece of shit. Move on. Sending it to the wrong people, first of all. But
yeah, and unfortunately, on that Sarah Bond interview, which I thought was good, but you know, they obviously ask her about this. I don't even think she has anything to do with Bethesda outside of collaboration. She is president of Xbox. That has nothing to do with Bethesda and ZeniMax. ZeniMax operates in a limited interactive capacity. Like they're not fully integrated with Xbox. They still operate under they have their own CEO that answers to Matt Booty. Like they are their own thing. So this is Microsoft getting involved with ZeniMax and closing their studios down. And Sarah Bond over there just was like, I don't know. Like now you're making me have to like talk out of my ass for this PR talk because I can't say anything. It sucks that those studios got closed down. You know that's how she feels.
Which
You
that
know that's how, but it doesn't matter. They're still in charge, right? And they just it is what it is there. But
no, and that again
I
goes
just
back
think
to
that's what
messaging. Like
yeah,
that
and I
should
think
have been
that's the
planned.
problem is Xbox has fucked up their messaging, but last October they told us Phil is Microsoft Gaming CEO. That is what it is now. It's not a brand new thing. I know the reports like people saying that it's no longer Xbox, it's Microsoft Gaming. They told us that in October.
Well,
Like
that's
it's
2022 was
that's
the first official Microsoft gaming. Like it's been 2 years
yeah,
now.
like this has been a thing. So it's not a surprise. Like the moves they have been doing and making have clearly been for that purpose. So you can buy and you can download a Microsoft gaming app that hosts your Xbox Game Studios games, Bethesda games, Activision Blizzard games, and you can play it on an Xbox console or a PC and anywhere. Like that's they're going what they're doing with Microsoft Office. Excuse me. They're doing what they're doing with Microsoft Office. Microsoft Gaming is just now part of that portfolio. Unfortunately, like how much of the identity of Xbox might get lost within that. I don't we'll see. I don't think it's there yet.
No.
I think the moves they've been doing have actually been like shoring up it's still Xbox. Like I think like this is just I think this is an industry being really, really tired of people getting laid off and not so much pissed that Xbox closed for studios. Still valid and at Xbox, but it's like another one. And then apparently Square Enix is also going to have layoffs too. I saw that report.
Yep, that was
before.
in their financial stuff.
So
earlier.
like, so there it is. So like another thing there. It's like, oh, okay, more layoffs, right? It's everywhere, and I think the vitriol, the amount of it against Xbox is because Xbox is easy to be hateful and to hate against right now. It has been for the last couple of years, and everyone's just so fucking tired of these layoffs. So it's just it's tiring, you know.
It's only May.
And it's only May.
It's only May.
And yeah, it's like, how can you be excited for what's coming next when you don't know? And it's like they could say, we're here and we're going to show you cool games and we have awesome developers that have been working on it. And you're like, that's awesome. But like, you know, you've said this before and more developers are still losing jobs. You're still closing studios. You're still mismanaging shit, chasing the Fortnite bubble, right?
Which that's the thing. The biggest thing I hate seeing about all of this is I saw it with Tango. I saw it with was it Firespray? No, London Studio for PlayStation. Where like the higher up specifically post like, oh, so proud of the studio, and post like a selfie with them like day before or month before the closure. I'm just like, that's such a shitty thing to do. Like,
yeah, that's what they were there to meet. Yeah, they were there to meet with executives and talk about like
great.
Maybe bonuses, but most likely like, yeah, this is going to happen in the short term. We're shutting the studio down, but we're going to throw a morale boost at the same time. If we're going to go to the studio, might as well, you know, two birds, one stone.
God.
That's awful.
It is. Last thing, real quick, before we end off here, because we are well over
going
an
for
hour.
it.
With the Sarah Bond interview you brought up with Bloomberg, on top of being put in this position like a deer in the headlights, also casually, super just casually dropped that Xbox will be having, Microsoft will be having their own cross-platform gaming-centric mobile experience. That they're going to start as a web-based service to have it accessible on all devices, all countries, no matter what. Fuck you, Apple. Independent of policies. Fuck you, Apple. You know, a closed ecosystem stores, and then we're going to extend from there. So, yeah, if you got internet anywhere, you're just going to be able to play. They specifically said Candy Crush and Minecraft in this, because I'm guessing, like, obviously those are two big money makers for them. I'm curious to see how far this actually branches out. Like, if it's the whole portfolio off the rip, or...
Here's the thing. Like, they're waiting for the lawsuit, I think, in the EU and what the ripples are going to be. But we already got an emulator on iPhone, and because of those, because of that lawsuit. So it really is just the payment stuff, and because it's a closed storefront being Apple. The moment that is like they take that out, that you can't have a closed storefront, I do think we would see a full Xbox app. I mean, right now it's going to be on the library, but I do think that we would be downloading Xbox games onto our phones, playing them natively on our phones. Specific games, of course, but my Starfield Game Pass or my Game Pass subscription where I can play Starfield or Stardew Valley, I can't play that on my phone. I have it. I bought it on iOS years ago. So why can't I play it? You know, so games like that, I think would be able to be played and download natively on the phone. That's what we're getting to, which is crazy, but it's what you do with Netflix right now. When you download Netflix and you have access to their games, you go through the App Store. Netflix is just paying. They're fine paying Apple's whatever Apple is requiring from them, but you go to the App Store and download the game. It's going to be similar to that, I think.
I get the idea behind it. It very much feels like sort of a plan B option they have just in case, like if the stuff in the EU doesn't go through. And like,
but I think it is. Like I don't.
Oh,
but that's why the web browser is there, because I download allegedly ROMs from my Apple Safari web browser on my phone right now.
allegedly,
And I'm downloading ROM games right now through a browser. So allegedly, what can I mean, that Xbox can do something very similar, and I think that's what we're going to see. You're just downloading Candy Crush through the web, I guess. I don't know. That's what's going to be interesting to me, is what exactly that looks like. I understand later down the road, but for Minecraft and Candy Crush this July, I think she said it's going to launch.
Yep.
I don't know what that's going to look like. So that's what's fascinating. I do think it's part of their full mobile push, though.
Yeah, you would assume, too, it's getting the pieces there for the handheld in the fall. Like, hey, we're going to get you guys accustomed to this as a thing. If your phone's not good enough for you, here's this device that you can buy separate, you know?
Yeah. See, I'm actually now, I don't really know if a handheld comes this fall.
What?
Because of what they've talked, because of this interview that Sarah Bond talked about, like during it, they talked so much about mobile and being able to tap into that market. To me, and because we saw the leaked there've been updates to the PC web browser and such, that you can add multiple network, like you can remember multiple networks through that app. Why would you need that unless it's a handheld experience? So I think they made a better mobile app for Xbox that instead of the app being what it is right now, it's a proper like mobile UI. Right now it's just like an app that you log in and then it goes into it. I think it's like a dedicated mobile app, much like the Steam Deck has, much like a Nintendo Switch, you know, it's dedicated for mobile. Stuff like that. I think that's what we're going to see from Xbox, and that is in part with the Candy Crush and the Minecraft storefront thing. But with a handheld coming later, because it's just dependent on tech. I would love it this fall. It makes sense this fall, but we'll see. It wouldn't surprise me if it's just, here's our like official mobile, maybe a Backbone styled Xbox handheld that they made instead of a handheld with a screen, right?
It's interesting. It's, again, just a bunch of stuff up in the air right now.
Yeah.
And
which is, I mean, we're close to June, right? We're not supposed to know anything.
I do, but I don't think like hardware stuff or this is going to show up at the showcase at all.
But she said hardware like this holiday. They have to talk about it in June.
I think or they announce, June, I just don't think the showcase.
What was that?
I think they can still talk about it in June. I just don't think it'll be at the showcase. I think it'll be like hey, tune in next week Wednesday for a special presentation on this thing or something like that. Like, I don't know if they dedicate a showcase to that.
I think it's just a section of it. Yeah. I think it's part of it. I think it's part of their whole, I mean, post all this drama, they're going to have to re-message something. They're going to have to rewrite some of the stuff just to address and re-garner some of that trust that people have lost in the brand.
You have to do a whole lot.
Yeah. But I think, like, I don't know. I think they have a lot to show, and I think they just talk about mobile so much, and I think there's been enough between what they've done and announced and talked about in little leaks and rumors where I think that is like a huge push for them. And it might not be a handheld, and maybe it is. Like, that's my dream, is it's a full handheld with a full Xbox mobile UI experience that also can be accessed on your phone, on your laptop. If I don't think it would be your laptop, but at any remote play device like an iPad or whatever. Same UI and experience. That would make sense. We'll see, though.
We were getting closer. We're officially just over less than a month from the 9th. And things are heating up, and I am excited again. But with that, one of our longest episodes, I think, looking back. Unless you got anything else to add, I think we'll ride off here.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited for Xbox. Still, this is just like to me, this is an industry, like the layoffs. Like, that's just like, fuck, this industry sucks still, but it doesn't take away from what's being developed by all these studios and what they're working on. So they definitely got to fix their messaging.
Yeah,
and I think they will this June.
What's that? Just not about like what studios are working on. We'll talk later, obviously. Someone posted on Twitter, I saw today, like the overall, again, like update of what everyone's working on and stuff. And I already forgot about stuff like Clockwork Revolution. I was like, I forgot that was announced last year. Give me that this year, please. I'd be hyped. Yep. We'll be back next week, I would imagine. Are you going to have time to get some Hellblade in? Hellblade 2 discussion next week, finally?
Oh, yeah. It would come out before we record, so yeah.
Yeah, it'll be out next Tuesday.
Oh, wait, no. Next Tuesday.
Oh, you fit one of this weekend? We'll discuss.
Oh,
okay. See what happens this week.
Now we're just planning behind. You're seeing the behind the scenes now.
Yeah. Either way, Hellblade coming up finally. Feels like we've been waiting forever because we have. I am excited. I'm still debating if I want to try and get the first one knocked out again beforehand. I think I'm just going to let it go. But we will catch you all this weekend, maybe. Next week, we'll figure it out. I have no idea what's going on anymore. But this was episode 20 of the Download Queue. Thank you guys for joining us again.